I wanted to start off today's broadcast with this video in particular, because this video is so prescient. It's just a video that you can show forever. I watched the video last night, but some may say I watched this video a million times over. We have seen this video or different versions of this video over and over again. Now, why? This perfectly encapsulates the outrage manufacturing news cycle that conservatives run on throughout the entire year. Not just like once every 4 years in the same way that Democrats do, but like they run on all the time. Let's take a look at what's going on here.
What's the most important issue in the governor's race here in Virginia?
Getting back to the basics of teaching children, not teaching them critical race theory.
And what is critical race theory?
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because I don't understand it that much, but it's something that what little bit that I know I don't care for.
And what have you heard that you don't,
well,
that you don't like?
I'm not going to,
15 months,
I don't,
wow, where has the time gone?
I don't have that much knowledge on it, but It's something that I don't care for.
He's like, I don't know what it is. It just pisses me off. I don't know what it is, but it pisses me the fuck off. That's the thing. That news cycle is working. Virginia has a gubernatorial race. It's always in a weird time. It's like not in between the midterms. It's like literally nowhere. And this guy Youngkin, who just like is literally an unknown entity, okay, is actually beating Terry McAuliffe, the incumbent, at this moment. And part of that is because he's running on anti-CRT. And they do this all the time. Republicans do this shit all the fucking time because they find a grievance that literally is created in a think tank by Yale graduates at the Manhattan Institute, and then they pump it out into the wild, and the conservative machine, the conservative media machine that is so good, turns that into the number one thing to get angry at. And it's basically just a rebranding of old school grievances. Like, we don't want to teach kids that racism is bad, but you can't say that because people will be like, well, that's fucked up. Like, that's kind of racist. You want people to have a whitewash understanding of like American history. So they say like, yeah, critical race theory. That's right. So Youngkin is, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen, but he's an unknown entity that is now a legitimate contender. And the only reason why he is a legitimate contender is because he's running on the critical race theory ticket, basically. Youngkin is from the Carlisle group. It doesn't matter though. Like, it's just like, it literally does not matter. Like, this guy is a huomegalol, and he's able to capture, one, the attention of Virginia, which is like an otherwise purple state that's like basically blue. I think it's a +10 Joe Biden state. It was +10. And now it could potentially get a fucking Republican governor. And the reason for that is because Republicans don't stop running. Republicans create grievances and use a propaganda tool so effectively. They're very good at running year round. They never stop running. They never stop trying to win elections. They never stop trying to pump their ideological zealotry that they recognize really active parts of their fucking base has, and pumping that out as like another cultural flashpoint that you should be angry at. And then once they fucking use it, it's like rinse and repeat. Sometimes they'll bring it back, Antifa, but once they're done with it, it's like we move on. No one remembers it. Trans bathrooms. And it's always some bullshit like this. And it's not even hidden. Like, critical race theory was openly created by, again, a Manhattan Institute dipshit by the name of Christopher Rufo. And if you don't believe me, he's saying it. The activists are realizing that their ideas, once put into practice, are generating discontent. Their racial coalition is also breaking apart. Asian Americans in particular are revolting against critical race theory, which punishes them more than any other group. We have successfully frozen their brand, critical race theory, into the public conversation, and we are steadily driving up, this is back in March 15th, driving up negative perceptions. We will eventually turn it toxic as we put all of the various cultural insanities under that brand category. He admitted it. He's saying it. He said, fuck it, I'm saying it. We made critical race theory into a thing when it wasn't a thing, and now we're just saying all the bad things. That's all critical race theory. That's what he's saying. He said, fuck it, I'm saying it. America deserved critical race theory. Now, the problem here is that Democrats don't do this. Like, they got fucking MSNBC, they got CNN, they have like liberal media institutions that could traffic in the same way that they like advocate for Joe Biden in the fucking primaries as a bottleneck against like, socialist progressive mobilization or activist-backed movements to reappropriate some of the fucking funds given to the police's inflated budgets back to like social workers and shit. Like, they do that all the time. They get together and pump out content that fucking sullies and tarnishes Medicare for all or otherwise like popular provisions, popular programs, social safety nets that would be helpful, but definitely, shave a little bit off the top of the profit margins of these executives and corporations that fund these media operations. They energize and they get together and like in unison fucking pump out information where you're like, what the fuck? But they never do that for a Democratic agenda. They don't do this. They don't fucking hyper focus on like issues and run it year round. They don't tag these sorts of issues alongside growing movement within the base. Republicans recognize, they look at their base, they understand where the motivation is coming from, and they pump into it. They lean into it. They literally are like, you don't like vaccines? I've literally gotten every booster shot. I basically am fucking strapped up to a young 14-year-old and like getting blood so I can make sure that like I can still walk around at the age of like 87, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to be an anti-vaxxer now. Like Governor Greg Abbott literally had like the booster shots. Like he had everything. And he's still like, yeah, I'm anti-vaxxer. Fuck that. Why? Because the base demands it. Democrats, on the other hand, see progressive momentum in their base and they squash it or they liberalize it. They overtake it and turn like, Black Lives Matter into can't wait. Another fucking piece of legislation that's not even going to pass, even though it's fucking watered down. And that's the main difference between Democrats and Republicans is that like Democrats see their base and activists on the in the streets. They see people agitated towards a particular cause and they go, how can we fucking neuter this so it doesn't become like a real thing? You know what I mean? Republicans see that and they're like, I mean, we need every vote we can get. So I'm going to fucking lean into this. And that's precisely what is happening here. And that's precisely why Republicans, despite being like an eclectic group of like psychopaths in their, policy items that are broadly unpopular, they still fucking win elections because they do whatever it takes to win. They gerrymander, they take advantage of the electoral college, they fucking launch. I've talked about this a million times over, but it bears repeating. I talked about this when I was on with Felix as well. You want to understand the brilliance behind Republican operatives in comparison to like Democrats? Go to a QAnon rally. Go to a fucking QAnon rally, a Save the Children QAnon rally, and you will see like a fucking comptroller, some random like Asian lady who's a fucking running for city comptroller or some shit, okay, on the Republican ticket, and she'll literally be like there at the QAnon rally talking about school choice. It's like, that's how? What? Like they'll have weirdly specific because it's weirdly specific because I'm talking about like a very specific thing that I have literally seen with my own two eyes. That's why. This is something that happens regularly. Okay, this is something that happens all around the country. So they're very good at like grabbing on to QAnon mobilization that's happening, like an actual grassroots or popular mobilization that's happening, lean into it, pump it full of funds, and then basically add Republican agenda items so that like these fucking hogs that are like, yeah, we need to save the goddamn children are doing word association and having like a positive opinion on school choice. Like, what the fuck is school choice to you? You want to fucking privatize the public school system? Like, why? Because it's communism. So Republicans do everything they can to win. Okay? Democrats don't. They only run every 4 years. And when they're running every fucking 4 years, they look towards like activists and actual like populist movements within their base. And they go, let's commoditize this. Let's commodify this. And let's make sure that like, this doesn't get too out of hand. That's why Democrats always lose. And as Matt Christman so aptly put on the latest Chapo episode, the Democratic Party strategy basically is to let Republicans win, and then because they're so fucking gross, the Republicans that do end up winning, that their base is motivated to go out and vote again for the goddamn Democrats, to only not do anything when they're in power, and then to have them, but they can still fucking make money, and then to allow Republicans to win again so they get their agenda done a little bit, only to, again, gross out every single fucking voter in the country so they get mobilized again, so they will fucking vote for like a shitty, coward, feckless Democratic administration that's not actually interested even remotely in even dialing back some of the things that the Republicans did that the Democratic Party has the power to dial back. They won't do it. Title 42 is a great example of this that I've talked about a million times over. Title 42 is a CDC provision that the Trump administration used to deny asylum seekers their legal fucking opportunity to seek asylum. They said, hey, COVID's a big problem, even though they were literally denying it, but they were using the CDC and its awesome powers to deny people their legal right to seek asylum in the United States of America. Joe Biden didn't overturn that. As a matter of fact, he had his own attorneys defend it so he could keep doing Title 42 and keep fucking, you know, making sure that people can't seek asylum in this country. So yeah.
Mara and Brooke, thank you very much. It's
Can I
great
say one thing though about, I don't think people necessarily truly understand what critical race theory is. Younger children are not being taught critical race theory. They can't understand critical race theory. They're being taught history. So when somebody here in Loudoun County, I understand, was upset that his second grade child was taught that Christopher Columbus killed many indigenous people, that's part of history. That is what Christopher Columbus did. So I have a hard time. I think kids have to learn history, the good, the bad, the ugly, so they can become critical thinkers.
I don't think anybody's against that. I think we have to do a fact check on the Christopher Columbus story as well. But
you're gonna do a fact check on whether Christopher Columbus murdered indigenous people? What the fuck? How are you gonna fact check? We're gonna do a fact check on whether slavery happened. Like, what the fuck, bro? He was so brutal. Even motherfuckers back home were like, dog, you gotta stop. Okay, what the fuck are you doing? Stop cutting their fucking ears and hands and shit, you psycho. Not to say that like those colonial powers were like kind or anything. They were fucking horrifying monsters too. But Christopher Columbus was so extra that they were like, dude, what the fuck? What are you doing? Stop. Okay, dude, just enslave them, motherfucker. That's how we do it. What's wrong with you? Like, he literally was like, no, I'm gonna cut their hands off. There was like, stop. Stop cutting their hands off and making them wear as necklaces. He's like, no, I'm going to fucking keep doing that. Yeah, we're going to run a fact check on whether Christopher Columbus engaged in indigenous genocide. Like, I mean, this is in no fucking way any different than like being like, we need a fact check on the Holocaust. Like, it's nuts. What an insane thing to fucking say. I can't believe this dumbass said this. We need a fact check on the Holocaust? Jesus Christ.
I don't think anybody's against that. I think we have to do a fact check on the Christopher Columbus story as well. But, you know, critical race theory, I think, sometimes is a little bit of a misnomer because what's happening is that there's a sort of a reformed thinking and approach to history that teaches that the country was founded in racism. You can say critical race theory is like a legal theory that is found more in colleges. So maybe giving it that label has thrown some people off. But it doesn't mean that there's not things being taught that are teaching kids that they're sort of inherently.
Dude, by the way, another thing that's really funny is like white identitarian politics, which is something that like anti-SJWs do regularly, which is like they fucking literally build an audience fucking talking about how much like black people are crying for no reason, blah, 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 blah. And then like these fucking neckbeards turn around and do the exact same thing where it's like, white men are being murdered on the internet. Whenever someone says white men are doo-doo or they're trash, a white man kills himself immediately. Like, are there real fucking problems impacting men in general? Absolutely. White men as well. Okay. But like they're doing the exact same shit from a place where there's like not as much significant like material reasoning. And most of those men, if not all of those men, are not harmed as a consequence of like being white, but they're harmed because they're fucking workers in a country where our primary function is just consumption and working in some fucking bullshit desk jockey job that literally does not need to exist, okay? Just a shit job that does not need to exist. Or if you're actually doing fucking like labor, it's oftentimes just working as a waiter serving the fucking small business owner tyrants that spit on your fucking face all goddamn day. The future looks bleak, okay, for everyone. But of course, no one needs to do materialist analysis. We need to fucking completely move away from that and focus on like individual identities and why they feel terrible and sad. Especially when we talk about white men. It's like, dude, they're not like, white men are not being fucking attacked for being white. They're being attacked because they're a gigantic part of the fucking labor force in a country that does not have like any sort of industrialized production anymore. That's it. That's why they just feel like they've been left behind. White men are trash. Bleh. Like, okay, dude. All right. So what? That person just said that. Did that really fuck your day up? Is that what happened? You have a boo-boo? In a way, this is no fucking different than the same shit that these anti-SJW essayists were fucking crying about. But at least when it comes to like black issues, there's a fucking real material reason behind it. There's like an actual reason why black people are fucking upset, because there are so many serious fucking racial wounds that have not healed. But like this CRT conversation is so fucking dumb. It's like people literally just do not want kids, black and white, to not learn the accurate history, and like their criticisms of CRT revolve around, my white kid thinks he's a villain now. Like, shut the fuck up, you dumb bitch. What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh no, my kid, his feelings are hurt. It's like, dude, first of all, you're a villain, but not because of like what your ancestors did. You're a fucking villain because you literally just choose to deny it and don't want to offer restitution. You're not a villain because you're automatically white, therefore a villain. You're a villain for being like, I literally not only want to hear what is going on, I don't want it to be educated. I don't want that to be like the common core education, the real accurate reading of history. On top of that, like, I will do everything in my power to fucking cry about it. That's why you're a goddamn villain, dude. If you're actively denying like racial subjugation, you're a fucking piece of shit. You're a bad person. Sorry. This is why Republicans will keep winning. Yeah, they'll only keep winning because they're very good at whipping up enough active dumbasses into a frenzy in their incredibly powerful manufactured outrage machine called fucking Fox News, all the way down to like the alternative media sources that they also dominate, like fucking YouTube and shit. They're able to create a conversation around something that has not changed. It's just so stupid. But the real reason why they win on top of that is not necessarily because like they're very good and this is like a really important issue that every American should be outraged by. Like, you really think it's bad? Like, you're in the wrong place if you think that like CRT is a bad thing, okay, or whatever they consider to be CRT is a bad thing, because like that's what I do as well. I teach you the accurate history of the United States of America, like a colonizing force that enslaved millions of people, raped, pillaged, burned to the ground, extracted natural resources from the third world and kept it down. That's just the truth. And you hear it here all the fucking time. The saddest thing is like whenever there's like black kids in my audience, they're like, I didn't even fucking hear about this. Like there are black people in my fucking audience that don't know about like the move bombing, for example, in 1985 in Pennsylvania, or Oklahoma, the Tulsa massacre. Okay. And that's because they also are educated in the American public school system that teaches an otherwise whitewashed and usually white supremacist fucking history of the United States. That's why. What was the first one you said? The move bombing, where an entire city block was fucking blown up by the Philadelphia Police Department. They threw fucking C4 in a bag out of a helicopter and they let it burn to the ground. Like, we already have CRT, okay? We have critical racism theory. As a black kid growing up in the American South, I always found it weird that we learned about the good things of African Americans in 1 month of the year, but spent forever learning about slavery and the founding fathers, and not even like accurately learning about slavery. Anyway, I went to like a million different fucking places with this conversation,
victims,
but it's very frustrating.
I think has thrown some people off, but it doesn't mean that there's not things being taught that are teaching kids that they're sort of inherently, victims or oppressors.
I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that, because
like inherently victims or oppressors. So what are you fucking teaching when you talk about, I don't know, antebellum South, like a fucking the plantation owner's daughter and her personal experiences having to like run away to Texas and leave some of those slaves behind. Oh no. Like what are you teaching then? What the fuck are you teaching the kids then in that situation? It's such a, if you want to fucking literally just like rob everything of its context and look at it like a fucking idiot and be like, there's like victims and then there's oppressors. Throughout history, that's a constant, motherfucker. You have oppressors and you have the oppressed. That's just a constant, just like violence is a constant throughout history and throughout politics, okay? There's always an oppressive class, and then there's always going to be those who are oppressed, okay? Welcome to dialectics. So CRT is not new. It's not a real thing. It's like a couple different schools were like, Robin DiAngelo, we're going to fucking have his perspective added onto our curriculum, or the fucking 1619 project or whatever the fuck. And everyone was like, whoa, what the fuck? This is CRT. This is CRT, brother. We need to stop it. I mean, dude, this is nothing, dude. These early exit polls are meaningless. For the VA gubernatorial race that's happening right now, the most important issue is economy. 24% is education. 24% education, and it's entirely CRT. Oh, they've called it. Dave Wasserman has called it. Youngkin defeats Terry McAuliffe in the governor race in Virginia. Let's go, boys. We're defeating CRT. Let's go, Glenn Blumkin. Let's go, Pog. Yeah, Democrats literally functionally run zero campaigning for Terry McAuliffe McAuliffe's election. And then Democrats also routinely are getting owned in the marketplace of ideas because they look like they're just fucking, you know, doing a Blumpkin all over the fucking marketplace of ideas every single goddamn day as like, you know, they're holding up their own legislative agenda. And then in the end, it's still the progressives. You win, it's the progressives. You lose, it's the progressives. There is never... It's just always the progressives that they're at fault. They will never not be at fault. You deserve it. Yeah, Glenk won, dude. Virginia now has a governor by the name of Glenk Blumpkin. By the way, let's be a lesson. This is going to be 2022. This is going to be 2024. Get excited for this exact same thing to continue happening all around the country. Let's go, boys. They want it more, dude. They want it more. Like, really, what was going to change the dumb one? I mean, not much. I'm sure that, like, literally so many people who did not pay attention to this at all until tomorrow are going to come into my chat and like go all over the internet and be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like Terry McAuliffe was actually gonna fucking single-handedly institute a $15 minimum wage as a governor. Wow. Are you telling me that, like, you know, Terry McAuliffe is gonna do all the bad things in Virginia? Or not Terry McAuliffe, sorry. Blumpkin is gonna fucking, you know, kill little kids, and you fucking, you know, you just didn't do anything. You didn't do much. And that's why this happened. It's your fucking fault. It's like, dude, shut up. You didn't give a shit about, you literally did not give a shit about this until yesterday. And ultimately, like, it doesn't matter. Isn't Blumpkin a QAnon guy? No, dude. No, he's like a fucking multi-millionaire. He's like Kelly Loeffler 2.0. He just literally is like a fucking random dude. He's just a guy that they were like, here, you should run for governor. And he was like, all right, yeah, I'll run for governor. Virginia is going to do literally nothing for 4 years because the legislature is split. Glenk will be a nothing governor and Terry would have been the same. Yup, it doesn't matter. And also, they're literally the same person. Like, one just like cries about CRT or whatever, but they're the fucking same person in the end. From a D+9 state to a Republican state, this is horrible for Dems in 2022. Not really. Governors are... No, I don't think gubernatorial races are indicative of like the overall, especially random fucking gubernatorial races in the middle of fucking nowhere, in the middle of like not election season, are not indicative of the party performance overall. I don't think so. Yeah, not indicative. We're just losing all elections. No, I separately think Democrats are going to lose. I separately think Democrats are going to lose all the elections because they fucking suck and they deserve to lose. Let's be real. They don't want it. And that's what happens when you don't fucking want it, dude.